All right, let's talk about a guy who wasn't just in the game. He was the game. We're going to break down what made Michael Jordan, well, Michael Jordan. This is the anatomy of a legend. You know, when one of your biggest rivals, a legend in his own right like Magic Johnson, says something like this about you, that says it all, doesn't it? It just perfectly captures the kind of greatness we're digging into here. 6. Just let that sink in for a second. 6 championships. And not just that, 6 NBA Finals MVPs to match. It's just perfect. So the big question is, how on earth did one guy become so completely, utterly dominant? Well, the story's got a few more twists and turns than you might expect. So to really get it, you got to go back, way back. Before all the fame, before the rings, there was a failure. A rejection, actually, that pretty much set the stage for everything that came after. I mean, can you even wrap your head around this? Michael Jordan, as a sophomore, gets told he's not good enough, too short for the varsity team. But here's the thing about MJ. That rejection, that was like throwing gasoline on a fire. He didn't complain, he didn't quit, he went to the JV squad and just lit it up, dropping 40-point games like it was nothing. He was showing everyone, and probably himself more than anyone, what was coming. So what does he do next? He spends the entire summer just working, training like a maniac. And hey, a 4-inch growth spurt didn't hurt either. The next year, he doesn't just make the varsity team, he is the varsity team. He's the star. And that right there, that early experience, that's what built the mindset. Every single setback is just fuel. You know, every legend has that one moment, the turning point that changes everything. And for a young kid named Michael Jordan at UNC, his moment came with all the light shining on the biggest stage in college hoops.
And this was it, right here. He's just a freshman, right? The national championship is on the line. He's up against Georgetown, against Patrick Ewing. And what does he do? He just calmly drains the game-winning shot. He said it himself later on, this was the turning point in his career. This is where Michael Jordan became Michael Jordan.
Okay, so after college, he heads to the NBA. And get this, he wasn't even the first or second pick in the draft. But man, it did not take long for the entire league to figure out that something huge, something game-changing had just arrived. They started calling him Air Jordan almost right away. And it was so perfect, right? Because of that insane leaping ability, that hang time. It was like he could just float through the air on his way to the rim. He wasn't just playing basketball. He was putting on a show every single night, and people absolutely loved it. And look, this wasn't just some sports writer trying to sell papers. This quote, this came from Larry Bird. Larry Bird. After Jordan hung 63 points on, by the way, one of the best Celtics teams of all time. In the playoffs. Bird basically said he saw God out there, just disguised as Michael Jordan. That's the kind of respect he was earning from the absolute legends of the game, right from the jump. But here's the thing. Being a one-man highlight reel isn't enough to win championships. To get to that next level, Jordan had to go through a wall. And that wall had a name, the bad boy Detroit Pistons, a team that wasn't just a rival, they were his nemesis. The Pistons literally created a whole defensive philosophy just for him. They called it the Jordan Rules, and it was as simple as it was brutal. Step 1, be physical. Hit him, shove him, challenge every single move. Step 2, anytime he touches the ball, send a second defender. Step 3, if he even thinks about driving to the hoop, send a third guy. It was basically do anything and everything to stop number 23. And for a few years, it absolutely worked. 3 years in a row, 3 straight years. The Pistons just crushed his championship hopes. Imagine that frustration. But Jordan and the Bulls, they didn't quit. They just got tougher, they got smarter, they added muscle, and then came 1991. They didn't just beat Detroit this time. Oh no, they swept them. 4-0. It was more than a win. It was an exorcism. They finally broke through. So, after breaking through that Pistons wall, what happens? 3 straight championships. A three-peat. He's on top of the world, the undisputed king of sports. And then, he just stops. At the absolute peak of his power, he just walked away from the game. I mean, look at this. It's just wild. On one hand, you've got the 3-time NBA champ, the global icon, and on the other, a guy riding buses in the minor leagues, trying to hit a curveball. He was chasing a dream his father had for him, but he was also just burned out from being a superstar. Nobody could believe it. The whole world was in shock. Then, after about a year and a half, the entire sports world just stopped. It wasn't some huge press conference or a long-winded speech. It was just a fax. A simple two-word fax sent to the media. I'm back. That's all it took. The king was coming home. And let's be clear, this wasn't some farewell tour to sell tickets. No, this was a hostile takeover. He was back to remind everyone who the throne belonged to, and believe it or not, the Bulls were about to get even better. 72. In his first full season back, the Bulls won 72 games. At the time, that was the most wins in NBA history. It wasn't just winning, it was total annihilation of the league. It was a statement that said, the break's over. A brand new, even more dangerous dynasty had just been born. This second three-peat was full of these moments of just pure will. And nothing was more iconic than the flu game. The guy is visibly sick. He can barely stand up during timeouts. And he still goes out there in a must-win finals game and drops 38 points. It was just a legendary display of mind over matter. Absolutely unbelievable.
And then it all comes down to this, the perfect ending. Just look at this sequence. First, with his team down, he gets a bucket to cut the lead. Then on the other end, he comes from behind and steals the ball from Karl Malone, another MVP. He brings it down court, calm as can be, hits Brian Russell with that killer crossover, and then holds that pose. The game-winning shot. 6th championship secured. It's like his whole career, all the clutch moments, all the drama, just boiled down into 20 perfect seconds.
But see, with Jordan, the story doesn't just stop when he hangs up the sneakers. His impact, his legend, it ballooned into something way bigger than just basketball.
He wasn't just an athlete anymore. He was a global icon. The Air Jordan brand, the sneakers, the logo, that became a massive cultural phenomenon. It was in fashion, movies, music. He totally changed the game for how athletes were marketed and what they could become. And when you just look at the raw numbers, the case for his greatness is, well, it's undeniable. 6 trips to the finals, 6 rings, 6 finals MVPs, never even went to a Game 7. A record 10 scoring titles, the highest scoring average in history for both the regular season and the playoffs. The numbers are just insane. They don't seem real. So it all leads to this one final question. When you look at the whole picture, the skill, the relentless drive that was born out of being told no, the Hollywood scripted moments. He just set the bar so incredibly high, it feels untouchable. People will argue about it forever, sure, but will that title, the greatest of all time, ever really belong to anyone else?